The Pittsburgh Steelers get some good news in terms of their running back, a guy that surprisingly missed week 4 against the Minnesota Vikings. And his absence brought plenty of questions about where the Steelers go in the future, the direction at the running back position, if their offense needed a change, if they got the spark that they've been looking for, and if that spark should continue. I mean, names like Rich Eisen, Colin Coward, every and any analyst out there questioning if Kenneth Gainwell should be the guy. Well, Jaylen Warren is set to return at least soon. We've got news on that, and we've got answers to the big questions that come with Jaylen Warren back on the field for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbein. Thank you for jumping on to another episode of Steelers to Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers are making their way through the end of the bye week. They return to face the Cleveland Browns, and nobody really knows what's going on with their offense because against Minnesota, they looked fantastic on all angles. They looked fantastic, sharp, quick, electric, great on the ground, great through the air. The offensive line did their thing, and Kenny G, man, took over and said, we need a spark through the running game. I've got you with that spark through the running game. He rushed for 99 yards, just under 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaged 5.2 yards per carry, and now has everybody wondering if he should be the starting running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, that is a question that I think is a little bit tricky and probably won't come with an answer that everybody is thrilled with, because some people are going to pound the table and say, after a performance like that, you rush for 99 yards, you score 2 touchdowns, you put your head down and your hand in the dirt, and you do what Kenny G did, which you should not take away what Kenny G did. It was impressive. It was a great game by the former Philadelphia Eagles running back. It was actually exactly what the Steelers wanted out of Kenny G. It's the reason they signed him, because 2 years ago, he torched these guys. He made them look silly, and their defense that was supposed to be great look atrocious. And since then, Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan and Art Rooney have had their eyes on Kenny G, saying that is a guy that when he is available, we will go get. They went and got him. And in his second start, because the first one came in week 1 against the New York Jets, he looked pretty darn good. He looked like a starting running back in the NFL. He looked like a guy that was going to get you places and do some crazy things and take over when you need him to take over. That's who Kenny G was. But Jaylen Warren's coming back. According to Penn Live's Nick Fairbaugh, Jaylen Warren is anticipated to make his return to the Pittsburgh Steelers lineup just a week from now against the Cleveland Browns. He will be back on the field for the black and gold when they take on the Cleveland Browns at Acrisure Stadium after the bye week. His absence against the Vikings was a bit surprising. The Steelers thought he was going to play. He went through a walkthrough on Saturday, didn't really feel the greatest, was going to test it on Sunday, did test it, still didn't feel the greatest, and the Steelers decided to hold him back. So they let Kenny G go, and Kenny G, he did his thing. Here's where they go moving forward. The Pittsburgh Steelers like Jaylen Warren. They signed Jaylen Warren to an extension. They think Jaylen Warren could be a starting running back in the NFL. They think Jaylen Warren could be explosive and do some crazy things. He's great at pass protection. He's great at catching the football. He's great at those long burst runs. He's also pretty good at putting his head down and fighting for a couple of yards. And Kenny G is good at the same thing. He showed a lot of that against the Vikings, and you have to respect that. The Steelers are going to look at it and say, we have a 2-headed monster. And that 2-headed monster is going to be very difficult to figure out. But in that first week, don't look at it like Jaylen Warren is going to come in here and be the guy again. He's just not. Eventually, he's going to be. Eventually, Jaylen Warren is going to make his way back to running back one and have a clear separation with Kenny G. It'll be Jaylen, Gainwell, Caleb Johnson, who will slowly develop into this offense as they move forward. But for right now, Jaylen's hurt. The Steelers wanted Kenny G to be that guy clearly from the way that they utilized him in game one. However, people will quickly forget what Jaylen has done in the receiving game 2 weeks prior. They will quickly forget that he has the potential to be a starting running back in this league instantly because of a performance like Kenny G. It's just human nature. It's what we do. Once somebody has some breakout crazy performance, it's all over. There is no more talking about the guy that they replaced, only how bad they are or how much better they are since they've replaced them. It's the Nick Herbig effect. That's what this is. Nick Herbig looks fantastic, and I think Nick Herbig should be a starting linebacker. But it's not to remove the fact that Alex Highsmith is a top 10 outside linebacker in the NFL. That is not the case. Nick Herbig did not suddenly become a top 5 rusher in this league. He's working his way there, and he looks like he is the future. But it doesn't mean Alex Highsmith stinks. That's not the case whatsoever. Instead, in this case, it's Jaylen Warren does a lot of good things, but Jaylen Warren's not healthy. And while he's not healthy, Kenneth Gainwell needs to be the guy. The Steelers understand that. They know how to go about this. They've dealt with Najee Harris for years going about this. Najee did not miss games, but he was not the guy in all games. There were times where Najee was beat up and the Steelers needed to work around that because they needed Najee for the playoffs. They needed Najee late in the season. They needed Najee's knee, who he wasn't able to practice Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, to be back on the field on Sunday and ready to go. That's how they're going to treat Jaylen Warren. What's up, AST Nation? I've teamed up with DraftKings. The next great touchdown is coming, and you can bet on it. The best way to do so is through DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers who bet $5 get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered. Bet live on in-progress games right as they happen. Then use your bonus bets to stay in on the action and bet DraftKings same-game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. With the offense still finding its groove, now might be the best time to take some shots during the season. And don't worry, if sports betting is not yet available in your state, you're fine. You can still join in on all of the fun with DraftKings daily fantasy sports and have the shot to win cash prizes. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Sign up using my promo code ALLSteelers and get in on the action only at DraftKings Sportsbook. It'll be Kenneth Gainwell who takes a majority of those snaps against the Cleveland Browns, but people will start to get it twisted and say this is Kenny G's offense and this is Kenny G's backfield. It's not. It's Jaylen Warren's. They want it to be Jaylen Warren's. They understand the value of Jaylen Warren and what he brings to this ball club and what he's capable of doing on the football field. Aaron Rodgers knows that. The offensive line knows that. Jaylen Warren knows that. Arthur Smith knows that. Mike Tomlin knows that. And they're going to keep it that way. So once he's healthy in maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, Jaylen Warren will remain the starting running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that's not going to change. He's still going to be the guy for the black and gold. And then you'll just hopefully have a two-headed monster. That's what the Steelers want to have. They want to have two guys back there that could be electric at all times, with Caleb Johnson coming in and continuing to figure out his role. And it'll be a slow movement. It'll be this is going to take some time, maybe the entire season to figure out for Caleb Johnson, but he's slowly getting there. I mean, you saw the progression just throughout the Vikings game. The first time he touched the football, he had two hands on that bad boy. The second he touched it, I am not fumbling this football. There is no chance I'm making that mistake again. It's not happening. By the end of that, he was able to see things. He hit holes. You're going, oh, that's the Caleb Johnson that you saw at Iowa. That's what he's good at. There you go. Hopefully that progression continues. but it'll be a backseat to Kenny G and Jaylen Warren. But eventually, Kenny G is going to take a backseat to Jaylen Warren. And I anticipate that at some point, Jaylen has the Kenny G game. That's just going to happen because, yeah, Kenneth Gainwell looked really good against the Minnesota Vikings, but so did the offensive line. Give the offensive line so much credit. And don't take anything away from what Gainwell did. Just acknowledge that with Jaylen Warren out on the field, maybe if the offensive line played just as good, Jaylen Warren would have had just as good of a game, if not better. And you got to see that. You got to hope that that's the case. If the Steelers can have two guys who are tiny, explosive, and can do everything you ask of them, then they have a backfield that is dangerous without a big splashy name, which is nuts. And once again, the NFL is, it's twisted right now. Saquon Barkley has one of the worst rushing yards per carry in the NFL. Saquon Barkley. Derrick Henry does not look good. Derrick Henry. Kenny G looks like a monster. So it doesn't matter what the name is. Doesn't matter if you're a superstar or not. It just matters what you're doing on the field. Jaylen Warren is doing crazy things in the passing game, and hopefully he could do those things in the running game. And the Steelers want him to be able to do it. Don't get that twisted. Kenny G is going to be the guy that takes the lead until Jaylen is healthy, because you got to have both of these guys heading into the back half of the season and heading into the playoffs. That's what you need. And the Steelers are going to work their way to make sure that they get both of them. But do not think that Jaylen lost his job. He did not. Thank you guys so much for jumping on to another episode of Steelers to Go, your daily dose of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. I'll be back later for the flagship show. Until then, enjoy another beautiful day in the Berg. Peace.